cleanliness, they get the maximum respect out of the society. Even if you are going for an interview, the first appearance does matter a lot. I'm sure everybody who is here would agree with me that the first thing is how the person walks into your office, how he presents himself, how he talks. This is all what is personal grooming. So when you are going for an interview or you're going to a party, what you wear, how you wear, and how you behave in public is all grooming and nothing more. The importance of knowledge of grooming is also very important for all the younger generation. Actually, unfortunately, the Angreziyat, the westernized behavior has come into existence today. But world over, our civilization, our culture, our dresses are more accepted than the Western. I know it's always an interchange of culture. I remember 45 years back, I was in Germany. My friend was driving me and she parked the car. And there was, in Germany, you don't even hear the horns. And I told her, I said, well, you have parked your car wrong. The person is honking at you. She got down. She saw. She says, no, I'm perfectly parked it correctly. Then suddenly she realized that because I was wearing a sari and out of appreciation, he was honking. Can you imagine? The Westerners go crazy with the sari. Whoever comes here, they say, at least we would like to wear a sari. And for every social, if they are in India, they try to wear a sari. I have seen even the American embassy, the Bulgarian embassy, the German embassy, everybody tries to adopt. Another small anecdote I must tell you that I met a friend and she is one of the most renowned person in Germany. You all know about the sixth rent-a-car. Her name is Regina Sixth. And she was so bewildered with the bindi what we put. Every time I happen to meet her, she says, get me those bindis. So our Indian culture is so much embedded into the whole issue. Today we have Indira, Nepal, who also is a grooming teacher. I think she would be the moderator. Nobody could be better moderator than a teacher. And nobody could be great panelist than Mr. Kush Behel, who is the director of the Roseate Hotels. Then there is Kiran Jain. She has her own style, but she's one of the best motivators. There is Pooja Dagar, who will be telling you more about what in the airline industry is required. There is in the panel Vinita, who heads the Bird Academy. And we are still waiting for the greatest panelist of this afternoon, Mrs. Rubina, sorry, Mrs. Barar. I think she will be joining us shortly. So on to Indira, who is the moderator. Indira, you'll have to just tell them exactly what it means for grooming. Grooming is not only doing the hair properly, giving a better appearance to yourself, but it also depends on your talking, your speaking, your addressing people, your behavior, most important, and your self-confidence. Indira, has Mrs. Barar joined?
Not yet, ma'am.
Okay, we'll check with her, but we can carry on till then.
Sure, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Over to you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good morning, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. My name is Indira. I'm the head for personality development and grooming at Bird Academy. If you have any questions during the presentation, please have them written in the chat box. I will bring them up at the end of the session. We have an excellent panelist today from different sectors like trade, tourism, and aviation, who will enlighten us on the subject we have chosen. Well, somebody rightly said the way we dress affects the way we think, way we act, way we feel, and most importantly, what others feel for us. Grooming involves social etiquettes, like ma'am rightly said, communication skills, your personal hygiene, your positive body language, and of course, how you project yourself in public, which is very, very important. That is the behavior. And I also strongly believe the power of first impression and image will always lead an individual to a greater heights in career and a personal achievement. So ladies and gentlemen, without getting further delayed, I would like to introduce my first speaker, Mr. Kush, who's a director in Rosette Hotels and Resorts. He is an excellent, I think, person with the finest grooming and etiquettes I think we all can emulate with. And he's in this industry for over 2 decades. So Kush, over to you. I'd like to ask you, how can grooming and etiquettes impact the individual's professional and personal achievement? And what do you look in a candidate if they have to work in your area? What is the advice you give to the HR whenever there's a selection process, giving more emphasis on grooming? Over to you, Kush.
Thank you, Indra. So I'll start on which ma'am also has just mentioned, and you reiterated the same fact. For me, or for anybody of us, I guess the first impression is always impression. And in today's time when people hardly have time, it takes actually less than 1 minute, 1 second to blink the eyes, and it takes less than 1 second actually to impress somebody if you really want to impress somebody. And we were talking, the panelists were talking also before this session, the grooming for me, it's not only the way you dress, the way you look, the way you walk, talk, speak, sit with somebody. It actually starts from the heart. So if your heart is really pure, you really want to respect somebody, you automatically get those things back. Coming to your question, what my HR looks into, I always consider attitude is the most important thing for any individual who wants to join my organization. I can have an MBA, I can have a PhD holder, I can have a diploma holder who can join the organization, but if the person doesn't have the right attitude, it will be very difficult for me to get the person in and train the person on that part. So attitude means with the attitude, you have the right set of framework of mind, you are properly groomed. That's most important for me to look into.
Okay, Kush, one more question from my end. Do you think if your employee is well groomed and well communicated, does it leave an impact for the customer, for the brand or the image, whatever we have? Does it have a positive impact? And also, if you could share, about some of your experience, how you have reached till here for 2 decades, I think you have a lot of things you can share with the audience to motivate them.
Right. So let me run through a couple of things. And Nadan, thanks for asking this question. First of all, absolutely, a well-groomed and well-spoken employee is always an asset for the organization. And everyone gets attracted to someone who's looking good. And we all understand, whenever we walk in any of the streets, market, or any of the places we go to even dine, if somebody is groomed, your eyes automatically move to that person. Need to understand that the same thing happens for us also. For me, it's you need to be 24/7, keeping those things in mind that somebody is always looking up to you. The way you always keep looking at somebody for motivation. So the way you look at somebody, people also look up to you in some way or the other. So you actually are motivating somebody at all point of times. So if you're well groomed, of course, people will be attracted towards you. Yes, as I mentioned, a well-spoken employee, a well-groomed employee is always an asset. The way you address people, the way you stand, walk, the way you carry yourself, it makes a lot of difference. So if I take an example of the hotel industry, who do we handle in the hotel industry? We handle the team members and we handle the guests. We also need to understand a guest is also a human being who enters the hotel, stays, goes through the experiences, and it's bound to leave a positive impact if you and your employees are properly groomed. I would say your employees are your greatest asset. So you are also greatest asset for yourself. So you need to take care of the way you groom yourself. It actually increases your worth and value, I would say. You win definitely more guests when you're properly groomed. It shows, it actually talks about your confidence levels in the organization. It helps tremendously because if you're confident, more people are going to come in. You're able to handle them well. They bring in more revenue. So it automatically spreads around, I would say. The other thing which I always wanted to speak about, universe for me gets attracted to the people who are well groomed. It makes you more convenient to start a discussion when we talk about whenever we are meeting somebody who we've never interacted in the past. A well-groomed person, a confident person helps. It's an ice breaking. It's an easy icebreaker if you're well groomed, you're dressed smartly, you carry yourself confidently. It just helps you starting the conversation on that. It's easy to get the business deals through. I would also take an example when a boy and a girl are going to see each other. It's the first impression which makes a lot of impact whether they're going to like each other and they're going to get into the marriage proposal or not. Few students, we find a lot of students or probably the young talent, they start comparing themselves with somebody else. My color of the skin is like this, my height is low, or I'm overweight, I would say. I would probably request everybody to respect themselves in whatever way you are, because you are an individual. So you should not be comparing yourself with somebody else on that part. For me, it's you need to have yourself as your own competition. As I mentioned, everybody gets attracted to yourself. And when you're groomed properly, everybody gets attracted to yourself. And I see a lot of young kids looking at those movie stars, actors and actresses, and they get attracted towards them because any good-looking person automatically gets attracted towards somebody. I'll give a very small example for everybody, and it's a live example for everybody to understand. People can Google after this or during this session also. There was a gentleman by the name Dinesh Mohan who was in Haryana government almost about 2 decades back. And this is, I'm talking about, he's still there. He's based out of Haryana, based out of Gurgaon, actually. At the age of almost about 55, he almost moved out of his job. He was very desperate to find something else in his life. Around 57, 58 years, he started modeling. And this is like recent, I'm talking about 3 or 4 years back. He's 62 right now, and he's the only supermodel in India at the age of 62. So what I'm trying to explain is, when he was an employee with the Haryana government, and when he moved out, he changed himself. He got his own self-confidence back, which actually has helped him to develop as a supermodel at the age of 62. And supermodel means, of course, he needs to be well-groomed, he needs to be confident, he needs to carry himself well. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kush. I think that's very nice. Whatever you shared with us, age is just the number. So
Absolutely.
you should not forget that the grooming will always make you look nice. It's not that when you put a makeup you don't look nice. That's not the thing. But you just need to make a little bit effort to stand out. So I think for the young generation right now, rather than we all are so much into your social media, phones, everything, we tend to overlook ourselves. So I think it's very important to look at self, and you can enhance your looks, appearance, and also alongside the way you communicate. Thank you so much, Kush, for sharing your brilliant ideas. Ma'am, I think
I
Rupendra ma'am
would
is here.
like to welcome Mrs. Rupinder Barar, who is ADG in Department Ministry of Tourism. I think she has been a historian, and being a historian in tourism, she is a great asset to promote tourism. So welcome,
Thank you, Radhaji.
Mrs. Barar. How are you?
Very well today.
Good morning, Ms. Brar. Welcome.
Good morning, Indiraji.
Thank you for joining us and taking time
Thank you
out
for
for
having me with
us.
you.
It is a privilege to have you. Rupendra ma'am is an additional director general in Ministry of Tourism, New Delhi. She is a historian, have traveled extensively all over the world for a personal and professional work. Ma'am, I would like to just ask a few questions to you with regards to grooming and communication. According to you, how important is it for an individual to have a good communication skill along with grooming in tour and tourism, travel and tourism?
Thank you, Indra. I think first I must congratulate Bird on taking this initiative of even talking about grooming, and that itself tells us the significance that the industry attaches to the role of communication in grooming. And answering as to how critical it is, I think it is so very vital. As Kush mentioned, I joined a little late, but I heard some of his thoughts. Is the first impression, right? And the first impression about at least being neat, about being properly turned out, and all the other, the more subtle parts of a personality, of course, only begin after you open your mouth. But before that even happens, is the first visual. And don't all of us get turned off by things that are shabby or unkempt? And if it's something tidy, it might be very simple, but if it's tidy, it has a certain welcome to it. So I think grooming cannot be overemphasized in travel and tourism, because travel and tourism and hospitality is all about creating a welcome space. And imagine entering a room which is in shambles. I mean, why would you even want to be there? So the eyes are the first sensory perception building points for any human being. And after that, of course, is the smell, the nose. I mean, that is why God has given us those senses, right? To perceive the right and the not so right things. And if there's a foul smell, would any of us want to be there? If the food is smelling foul, would we eat it? So if we wouldn't, why would we expect somebody else to eat it? Or if I am unhappy in a dirty place, why would somebody else be happy? And these are, I think these are basic values of humanity. And these cut across cultures, these cut across socioeconomic segments, they cut across all other matrices. And so the significance of grooming, and I think I would also therefore use this platform to break down this the thought that as if grooming is some elitist word. It isn't. You could just be wearing a kurta pajama, but if you've showered well, you've done your hair fine, you may be in a kurta pajama, you may be in a dhoti, you may be in shorts, you may be in whatever. You just have to be tidy. You have to be, you have to be clean. And then comes the whole second part of the grooming. I think Christian Dior said at a point, right? The grooming is a secret of real elegance. But it starts from the outer space. And then, of course, the more subtle elements of how you speak and how you address the other person. Are you, the moment you open your mouth, are you already appearing biased against somebody who doesn't look like you? Are you exhibiting those biases? People may be very differently brought up. They might represent very different cultures, but my ability to absorb them is so much a part of grooming. And when we talk about grooming, I think we are talking of so many things. The most obvious being the clothes or the appearance. But the real grooming is in the way we accept another person, in the way we begin a communication with somebody else. So I think those are the things that are key for us to work in tourism and hospitality. By culture, by civilization, I think in India we are blessed, but we do need to remember and to be reminded of a few of those things that tend to, I think, sometimes go just a little under the surface.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. And also would like to know, as a historian, how do you promote India?
Well, I think that's a good question. It takes me back to college. I haven't actually used history as a subject, so to say, except that I keep reading it. But then I think history, it becomes so much a part of our life, and it is something which reminded me. And I must mention here that in my middle school and high school years, I was not even living in India. And so for me, doing history as part of school did not happen. The Indian history did not happen. My father was incidentally posted in Dar es Salaam, and so I grew up there in my middle school and high school years. But I was a student of science till high school. And then when I came here and chose history as a subject, I wasn't even sure what I was entering. But if I look back, it's been more than 30 years now, I'm so glad I enrolled for history, because it took me to so many different facets of India that I could not have learned those facets by just sitting at home or going and studying another subject. Because history just flew my imagination. It just showed me India in so many different ways. And not only India, but because we were doing world history also, it kind of, pitted India against so many other civilizations across, and right from the Paleolithic times to now, and showed us what is the strength. And today that I work in the Ministry of Tourism and we have Incredible India as a brand, I would say that it's not just a brand. India is truly incredible. Indians are truly incredible. And it's really for us to discover those strengths in us. We have so many of them. If we go back to the Indus civilization, if we go to the Harappan cities and how well groomed our cities were, the famous figurine that comes to us from Harappa is all about grooming. The woman is in, there is a metal in which that the figurine is cast, and she is wearing something beads in her neck, and there have been elements found that actually indicate that lipstick in some form was being used, some lip color. So there was so much emphasis on all those things. And if we look at the whole literature that comes down to us from the Vedic times, the whole concept of everybody dressing up for the occasion and being properly attired was so much a part of our lives. So I think history has taught me so many things about what we are as a people.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And lastly, one more advice. What advice do you give to our audience who are very young and they're students, some young professional that has helped you reach wherever you are today at this high level? So, what advice would you give to them? And knowing the fact, the situation right now, so we all are locked up in our homes, and we're very restricted to getting out. So sometimes they might feel demotivated. So, how do you pep them up, or what advice from your end, ma'am?
I think again, I'll pick a piece from history on this, because there was a point in time, not exactly remembering the decade, but there was a volcanic ash that flew in Indonesia and it enveloped the rest of the world. And the crops got burned, and the impact went all the way to Western Europe and to England. And what was the impact of that? That the horses did not get enough fodder. And the cycle, the modest bicycle, was just about round the corner. People were experimenting with it, not really sure on how to make it into a product that actually got used on a daily basis. And then the crops perished. And the horses did not get enough fodder. Then the horses began to die. And then the cycle came up because there was no other way to move. And the cycle, which is now an everyday vehicle and which has become so modest now, was actually something that was very uber chic to actually use a cycle. But out of an adversity, humanity came out with an answer in form of a cycle. And therefore, I think in every adversity, there is a lesson. There is a lesson that there's something that we are not perhaps doing right till now, and there's probably need to revisit and also remind ourselves that as humanity, we've survived a lot of natural and man-made disasters. If we could have survived them, we will survive even now. We will come out stronger as a country. And that's where the role of history also comes in very important, not only for the world, but for us as a people. We need to dive deep within ourselves and see that what is it that we could actually focus on in times to come. Is it spirituality at a level? Is it yoga at a level? Is it the way we live? Is it our foods? Is it our culture? Is it Atiti Deva Bhav? What is it? But there are clearly elements. As a civilization, if we've survived for more than 5,000 years, we must have been doing something right. So why don't we start digging back into what we were doing right and what we were not doing so right? I think that's where we need to start accepting that what all is not right is very important to identify. And as far as for the younger audience, I think the most important thing is to identify what you really get fired with and do something that you feel for, and then just do it to your best. And nothing comes easy. Don't be afraid of hard work. Work hard for what you truly love and then be the leader in that. That's my message for all the young audience.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for your motivating words. And I think this time, whatever we are going through right now, pandemic, I think it's blessing in disguise for many of us here to get to know yourself and do something which you've never done. Come out to be a stronger person, confident person. And by the time this gets over, maybe you may be able to get a lot of jobs in the market. So I think this is a time for you to train yourself. So I think with that note, thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank
My
you.
next speaker I would like to introduce is Ms. Kiran Jain. She is the Chief Operating Officer, Delhi Noida International Airport. She has an experience over 25 years in aviation and hospitality industry. She has an excellent writing and oratory skills. Over to you, Ms. Jain.
All right, thank you. So what exactly do you want me to address? I mean, obviously, it's I'm looking at the questions. If you would like, I can sort of, go around that. But since the title is about grooming, I want to tell you guys something, that there is magic inside us, and that magic needs to be encapsulated. It needs to be nurtured. It needs to be captured. Now, and that can only be done by you. I do agree that your circumstances do have an impact on how quickly you can harness this magic. But the honest truth is, it's very visible to the person who's going to meet you for the first time. So you should not underestimate what you have within you and how you exude it or how you show it out, right? And I see a lot of questions are being asked about, economic means. Since when has money, riches, got to do with how you feel about yourself and how you look? Now, I want to address these two very separately. The irony is that whether you go on social media or whether you go on magazines or whether you look at billboards or whether you go to the movies, it's always the one with the money, with the style, with the big car, with the leather, with the Gucci, with the Prada, who you think, oh, wow, this person's great. This person's turned out really good. I will tell you from my personal experience, I have interviewed all kinds of people. You can tell by my accent, from many parts of the world. I have lived in Africa, in Europe, and now I'm in India. India is not a country I was born in. India is a country that I have embraced. I am Indian by heritage, but the emphasis of these questions about, fair skin, for example, wearing the right clothes, this emphasis actually is, I have seen it more in my face in India than I have really anywhere else. Maybe it's because in most other places I was engaged on a professional level, and that's just what the engagement was. So you were with like-minded people. Here you meet all kinds of people, given the virtue of the expanse of how I have gotten involved with India. So what I would like to tell you all is that there is someone for everyone. I know it sounds like a very simple saying, but there are people sitting across the panel who embrace bohemianism, who embrace people with open hearts, and that open heart is actually very visible in the way they walk into a room. That's your first impression. There are people who get I want to say comforted by looking at somebody who exudes spiritualism. Spiritualism does not mean that you're a religious person. Spiritualism means you're willing to give, you're willing to care, you're willing to nurture. Those are extremely critical qualities to develop, just not yourself, but even organizations, right? So we have to stop thinking that A plus B is always equal to my career choice. We need to stop that. You need to stop believing that you are a different person inside the home and a different person outside the home. You need to stop believing all this. You are that one person. And by God's ability or the universe's ability, whatever you want to call it, you actually have this magic to turn what is most dear to you into action. What do I mean by that? Now, you want to achieve, let's say, you want to come and you want to work for the Rosiette, right? Let's take that brand. It's a high-end brand. It's a brand that literally is a brand that's been created in-house. It's a brand that has now grown where all of us look at it with respect. So if I'm going to go and interview for a role at the Roseate, what is the Roseate brand? The Roseate brand stands for neat lines. It stands for impeccable, appearance. Just look at the buildings themselves. Don't worry about yourself. You just look at the building and what you are trying to get into. You yourself need to start imbibing that very physical appearance into your emotional appearance, right? Which means you will then make sure that even if it is that one pair of black pants that you own, that one pair will be creased properly, it will be ironed properly. Your white shirt will be creased and ironed the right way. You need to wear the pride, because when you wear that pride, that's what the brand sees across the table. These might seem like minor things, but I assure you, the people sitting across who are watching this, they're actually reading all this the minute you're walking into the building. So yes, exude confidence. Yes, definitely, know a lot about what you're walking into. So you need to feel this. Don't try and fake it, because I'll be honest with you, when you fake it, you get caught very quickly. And once you get caught, it's very difficult to go back, because you lied to yourself to begin with, and you lied to the person sitting in front of you. So be careful about this. The something else which, I believe a lot of us don't do, but we must do when it comes to your own, inner grooming. Somehow we don't seem to acknowledge our flaws, or, I want to say our weaknesses, right? We all have them, guys. Don't kid yourself. You all have weaknesses. You all have flaws. You must acknowledge them, because it's only in acknowledging them that you can actually address them. So it's a very simple saying, but please think about it again and again and again. I know what my weaknesses are. I know what my flaws are. And believe me, even at this age, even with the kind of career I've had, I still try and harness those mistakes, because I know that I'm capable of making them. And I'm capable of making them because, believe it or not, it does have something to do with your DNA programming. But, that's a chapter we can discuss at a later time. But what my takeaway and what I would like to leave all of you with is that you need to love yourself the most in order for the world to love you. And the only way to do that is to make sure that if you want something, you focus on it, you learn for it, you dress for it, you speak for it, you believe in it, you become it. That is exactly how this flows. There is no two ways about it. And like Rupinder Brar spoke before, please understand that there is no compromise for hard work. So just because you are pretty, you have big black eyes, you look beautiful, you have a beautiful figure, does not assure you success. Because remember, before you, hundreds have gone on this path, and hundreds of them have set the way for you, who is now the future. And that future till date determines that there is zero compromise for hard work. So yes, it is a future that asks for you to put in your time, that asks for you to put in commitment, that asks for you to become believers. Because without that, I assure you, you will go home every evening, you will hold your head and say, oh, main kya kar rahi hu, kyun kar rahi hu, kaam kyun kar rahi hu. Stop that. That is not the way the civilization is going to prosper. It isn't. So, I mean, with that, I'll end. I am very passionate about what I do. Anybody who knows me understands this very clearly. Otherwise, I would not have left all the other countries and all the other opportunities I had to actually come to India and say, you know what? I like this chaos. And this chaos is what's going to make me a better person. That is exactly the reason why I'm here. So I feel very comfortable in sharing this with you, because I am at that position emotionally and spiritually. Well, I can share it with the world. I have nothing to hide. But to get here, believe me, it took a lot of work. First question I addressed, who is the real Kiran? What does Kiran really want? And what does Kiran need to do to achieve that? I'm leaving these last 3 lines with you guys. And if you have any questions, just type them, just send them in. Obviously, I have, no problem addressing any and all questions. Like I said, I'm here really to share. I want to thank Radha, because it's always such a pleasure working with Bird Group. I have a lot of, I would say, more personal than professional interactions with the group. And they've really made my experiences here, much better than I could ever imagine. So thank you to all of you.
Thank you so much, Kiran. As always, your speech is it's so inspirational and it's so motivating. And I think the mantra, what you said, the last three, I think they all should follow, especially our young generation here and the young professional who is watching us today. Thank you so much once again. And I'd like to introduce our final speaker of the day, Ms. Pooja Dagar. She's Assistant General Manager with HR in SpiceJet. She has an experience of over 15 years in HR. So Pooja, in today's time with the pandemic again coming in with a lot of impact on aviation, there are many students who have gone through this aviation courses in different fields. So what advice do you give it to them so that they get motivated? Because right now they feel a little bit low that, recruitments are not happening. It may not happen for some time. And also as you're from HR, what is that quality you look in a candidate when you select for them, in an aviation industry, be it for a cabin crew, be it for a ground person, security. So it will be nice if you can just share some of your views. Over to you,
Hi,
Pooja.
everyone. Thank you so much, Indira, and hello, everyone. So I will answer your second question first with respect to what we look in at a candidate when he or she applies for a job in an airline, be it for a cabin crew profile or a ground staff. So we all know that aviation, along with hospitality, is an industry where a majority of the employees are in customer-facing roles or maybe passenger-facing roles. So it is imperative for us to hire candidates who look presentable, who are well groomed. And in terms of well groomed, it does not mean that they're wearing great makeup, they're wearing expensive watches, they're wearing expensive brands. It is all about how how they present themselves. It's a complete package of a personality. And people come from different backgrounds. They are brought up differently. They have different parenting. There are people who come from small towns. There are people who come from big towns. So what we actually look at a candidate when he or she walks in at the first time is the first impressions. Okay, we've all said about the first impressions. So the basics, there are different levels of criteria. The basics, of course, are the height and the weight and the clear skin, which is very important for us to hire in an airline. And those are the first level of assessments which we do. Beyond that, we lay a lot of importance on communication skills. So my suggestion to all the participants here is to harness the communication skills as much as possible, because grooming can be taught. In fact, even communication skills, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself, the way you're able to have an interpersonal conversation with other person is very important. It's important that, and communication is not only important for you to get a job and you can't just mug up a script at the point of an interview. If you fake it, you get caught, like Kiran ma'am just said. It's important it's not just important to just get into an organization, it's also important to raise through your career in an organization or in different organizations. So it's important that people harness the communication skills. It's not important to take English speaking courses outside and spend money on them. You can read newspapers, you can watch TV shows, read one, promise yourself to learn one word in English every day and use it in your conversations throughout the day. So imagine you will have your vocabulary, 365 words more in your vocabulary at the end of the year, which would be mind-blowing. As a recruiter, I am amazingly impressed with a person who walks up to me and is able to converse with me properly and is able to use good words. So that really stands the person apart from the rest of them. And yes, in terms of personality, in terms of behavior, having a positive attitude is very important. What again is something extremely important which we assess in an airline is how sensitive a person is towards the need of the others. Because if we are in industry, we are a serving industry. We like to serve people with a smile. We like to have employees in the organization who have warmth in their personality, and they're smiling now. With the COVID, we have masks all over the face, but they say that when you smile, it also reflects in the eyes. So the eyes speak so much for you. So grooming is not about just makeup and beautiful hair and great skin. It's about how you present yourself to the world, and your professional life is an extension of your personal life. Like Kiran ma'am just said, what you are at home is what you are at work. So you just can't be shabby at home. If you're shabby at home, you will be shabby at work. So even if you have just one trouser and one shirt, as long as it's creased well, it's ironed well, and you have that nice bright smile on your face, you're able to speak well, speak smartly, fluently, crisp and concisely. This is what takes the cake away for you. So it's important that these couple of things people should keep in mind when they appear for an interview. So your height and weight is, of course, the basics, and then comes the communication skills, the body language, the sensitivity towards the people, and the most important is passion. I mean, passion, passion, and passion. For me, as an interviewer, when I hire a person looking at the passion he or she has for the role he's applied for, and one cannot fake passion. So my advice to people here would be that don't emulate what your friends are doing. Just because somebody is doing a BBA in aviation or somebody is doing a history course doesn't mean that you need to do that. See, look within your heart and understand what you need to do. Because if that's what you want, you will excel at it. You will completely excel. Because passion is one thing which will, I'm sure all the panelists here will vouch for that. They are here because they have been passionate about the work they have done. Love the work you do. It will come all over your face. It will come all over your body. You will resonate that vibrations all across. And interviewers would be blown. They will be blown by the way you converse with them. You already have the basic knowledge. You've done courses, different kind of courses which you are doing based on the liking you have. But do it only if you are passionate about it. Go towards your love. And then you see the sky is also not the limit for you. So this is my advice to the participants here. And coming to your next question, Indira, yes, with the COVID-19 pandemic, aviation has been really hit hard, along with hospitality and retail and media. So it's not only just us, but industries across the world and countries across the world who've been hit by the pandemic. We have sailed through this kind of a situation, or the pandemics like this in the past. We will sail through them this time also. I need to assure the participants who are doing the courses in aviation here that though aviation is very strongly hit at this point of time, but mind you, it is also one of the most resilient industry. Okay, you just see we are going to be the first one to bounce back, and we are on the way. We are already on the way. So we have been hit hard. There have been pay cuts, and by the way, there have not been any job losses. So pay cuts have been there all across the country in different industries. So it's not only the aviation, but yes, we are bouncing back, and we are going to be bouncing back very soon. Like we all know that India is one of the most booming markets for aviation in the entire world, and we are going to be remaining. We will remain like that. So I just want to advise we are on the track towards bouncing back. The economy is opening up. Eventually, it will also open up internationally. Domestic is going fine. And my advice to the participants, the students, is not to feel disheartened at this point of time. Use this opportunity to harness your skills. This could be a blessing in disguise. Excellence is born out of adversity. Always, always, and always. So use this opportunity. And none of us are perfect. We need to hone our skills. We need to enhance our knowledge. Use this time to polish yourself so much that when we start hiring, you come for the interview and we just take you. You just get ready for the corporate world. You have to do that for yourself. If it's in India, as a recruiter, I've seen that apart from, we have our training academies. We groom people. We teach them soft skills. We teach them how to walk and also how to present yourselves. But it's very difficult to teach somebody English. And I'm telling the students here, those of you who feel hesitant in speaking English must try to harness that further. because it's important in our industry, whether it's tourism, whether it's hospitality, or whether it's in aviation, to speak fluently in English. And you can do that by reading magazines, by reading newspapers. Like I said, learn one word of English every day and use it with your friends, with your family, and then harness that skill. Because if you are a good communicator, nobody can beat you. You already have the knowledge, the theoretical knowledge. We will teach you the theoretical knowledge, but we will not be able to teach you grammar. So it's important that use this time to learn grammar, to get fluent, have concise, clear conversations, and then world sky's the limit for you. So
Thank you so much, Pooja. Thank you so much. I think Mr. Kapoor has some meeting. So Mr. Kapoor, before you leave, I just have one question for you. I think Asif is asking, is skin color key factor to getting a job? This question is for Kush.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's a simple answer, I would say. Skin color has nothing to do. See, I'll give you a simple example. Even a person who has a white skin and not able to speak to the guest, handle the situations, is not confident, does not make a difference. I mean, does not make a sense for us to hire the person. So when we hire people, we don't hire people based on their skin color. As we all the other panelists also mentioned, we hire people based on their passion, based on their attitude. So these are the two more important things, rather than even if you're not a qualified person. I mean, a basic qualification is always required. That's all we need. I mean, I'll give you a simple example. It took me almost 20 years to become a graduate. I was trying from 1998 to 2018. I completed my graduation in 2018 when I was almost 42 years old, right? So for me, as I said, it's all to do with what you love. Keep doing that. That's more important for us.
Thank you so much, Kush. If you want to leave, I think we can excuse you because you have an appointment. And it was excellent having you here today. And thank you very much once again from all of us here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kush.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful discussion we had. I think everybody will take something or the other from each one of us here today. Whatever we spoke on grooming and first impression and knowing yourself, taking out your weaknesses and trying to work on it. Be the one you always wanted to be. So we just have a few questions for the panelists from the audience. So this one is from Dhriti Jaswal. Could you please suggest us some ways to become more outspoken and harness our interpersonal skills? So anyone would like to answer this? Kiran, would you like to answer this?
Sure. Okay. Just repeat that question again so I can.
Could you please suggest us some ways to become more outspoken and harness our interpersonal skills?
Okay, so I think, okay, this is a funny one because, ironically, some people are born with this magical talent of just saying whatever the hell they want because they have the confidence to say it. And in some cases, they also have the support of their family and friends around them to basically say what they want because, they have that comfortable environment around them to speak exactly and say what they want. But I do want to tell you that saying what you want does not mean that you can be rude, right? So the way to go about this essentially is to, don't laugh when I say this. You need to stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself talking. And then hear yourself. So you record it and you watch it. It's very simple. And, take a few topics which matter to you and topics that have been discussed in families and friends all the time. Could be something as simple as fashion, could be some new movie that your friends are going to talk about. Think about it, be academic about it. Don't just say things like "Abhe chalta hai, chalega, arey aisa hi hota hai." That doesn't impress anyone really. So you need to get precise, academic about whatever it is that you want to talk about. Look at yourself in the mirror, always stand straight, make eye contact, and make yourself believe that guess what, there is nobody better than you. And then talk. Record it, hear yourself, start doing this on a daily basis. Just do it in little snippets. And I promise you, it's almost like an elocution test in high school or school, where you're given these impromptu speeches to make. That's how you get confidence. And slowly you will see that you will emerge as a far more confident, far more knowledgeable, and far more focused person. So you're not wasting anybody's time. Start doing this, and I promise you, you will see a difference. I know it for a fact. I've done this with many kids.
Thank you so much, Kiran. I hope that answer for us safe is okay from Kiran. I would like to ask the next question to Rupendra ma'am. How can we compete and be first in tourism industry globally?
I lost a word. How can we?
How can we compete and be the first in tourism industry globally?
Well, I think a few things will need to be done by the country as we take it forward, because yes, tourism and hospitality is a highly competitive industry, and we need to start approaching it with far more professionalism, and
Yeah.
all the products and processes that go into, therefore, looking at it as an industry and not just saying that it happens on its own. It doesn't. We may have fantastic products in India, but unless we don't pick and pitch the strategic ones as to the ones that set us apart as a country. So the first I would say is the need for strategy, and to think out that what is it that the world may possibly be looking for, identifying the need of the world and then matching it with what we can offer as a country is crucial. There's no point in selling anything and everything to everyone across the world. So the market research is something very crucial. Once we do that, then making sure that we actually offer good quality stuff. The world wants quality. And if you're not going to give quality, whether it is from the moment that you start researching about a country, whether it is through a website or whether it is through various other mediums. So the reach out also will have to be very smart, and it has to meet global standards. And after a person lands here, all the experiences that a person has at the airport, which includes therefore both the hardware and the software experiences, where people are courteous, they show you around, you're welcomed into a country graciously, all that really helps. And that's where skilling up, and skilling up in a, again, in a very professional manner. And that's why grooming and things like these are crucial, because you need to create that feeling of a country that is safe, secure, and hospitality is not just a word, or being hospitable is not just a word, but it's something that we can create that experience out of it. Everywhere that a person lands up as a tourist or a traveler, whether it's a taxi, the taxi needs to be clean. If you're going to sit in a smelly cab the moment you arrive from somewhere else, that's the impressions you're building of a country. I think at every step, working hard to making good standards in whatever we offer is crucial. Because there's no point in feeling, the panelists before me have also said the need to identify that what is it that we are not doing right. We must own up what we are not doing right. If you're going to find people spitting on the road, well, that's hardly creating a great ambient experience. So we need to introspect, we need to think as a country that we may have great civilization and a culture, the product might be amazing, but unless the soft ecosystem around it does not match the world standards, well, you're discouraging people from coming. And believe me, the social media is so strong and the reach is so vast and so quick these days. You can't hide behind ignorance today. Something good happens, it travels the world. Something not so good happens, travels the world even faster. I think those are my inputs as to how to make ourselves globally a superpower in times to come.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much. And there's the last question for Pooja from Vansh. When will the aviation industry start hiring? I know this will be a bit difficult for you to answer, but maybe, something.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a difficult question to answer at this point of time. But like I said earlier, that we are a very resilient industry and also a very resilient organization. We have Spicer, I may say for Spicer, we are born out of adversity, and we have risen through the ranks through a lot of upheavals in the last 15 years. Yes, we are going to be bouncing back, and hiring will start as soon as things become normal. It may not happen very soon. So my advice to people would be that to just hold their horses at this point of time and be calm and patient. And so it's not about aviation. I think in all industries in the country, in the world, would not be hiring at this point of time. My advice is to just stay calm and peaceful, hone your skill, enhance your knowledge. And once the hiring starts, it'll all be there in the news. It'll be there on the website, and then you can approach us, and we will start interviewing. So as of now, they need to.
Thank you so much. Then I think we come to an end of the discussion, and I would like to thank my speakers for today. On behalf of Word Group, I would like to thank all of panelists for taking out time from a busy schedule and enlightening us and also the audience.
So just one second, Indira, if I may interrupt you. I'm sorry. So, I haven't been able to read all the questions, but there are some particular questions that the students are aiming at me. I have some time, and I would like to answer them because it's rare that I actually have time, but I have another 15 minutes and I would like to give as much as I can back.
Sure, definitely.
I mean, I couldn't read them very fast, but yeah. Do you have access to them or no?
Indira, Radha, I'm just going to sign off since there's a meeting scheduled. So thanks for having me, and lovely hearing from the other panelists too.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Have a blessed day, ma'am.
Rupinder ji,
Connecting. Ji, Radha.
Rupinder ji, after this seminar, there is another idea coming to me that there are so many heritage properties, there are so many heritage stories. We have to develop together some product and market it.
Absolutely.
That's in Europe, even 50-year-old monument becomes a heritage. We have 500 years.
Absolutely.
Until we don't know. We have to do a lot of research and development for tourism.
I totally endorse and agree, and let's connect soon again.
Is there any question for ma'am before she leaves?
I don't think so, ma'am, right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Radha.
Thank you, ma'am.
One more suggestion.
Connecting. Yeah.
I would like the ministry to have some women taxi drivers who are certified by the ministry.
Sure, we can work on that. I think Mumbai has a couple of services. I'm not so sure about Delhi. Mumbai has Veera Cab started.
Yes, they do. They do.
Yeah. So I'm sure we can work on that for Delhi also.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of the delivery girls, the Hey Didi and some of the other delivery girls who do. So I know from Bombay, yes. But yes, we need to do more work in Delhi and North India.
Well, we have an organization, Women in India International, representing international body.
Okay.
And we have about 50 strong leaders. We should get together.
Yes, certainly.
And brainstorm how we can do it.
Let's do that next week. I'm game. Let's do that as early as next week. Yes. I'll ask Gitanjali to set us up a meeting for this. And let's definitely take this forward.
Superb.
Great. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
For sparing your time. I know how busy you are. It's from meeting to meeting. Thanks once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Okay. Same to you.
I'm just going to help you out. I've sorted out a question for Kiran Jain.
Okay.
I'm just going to read it out for everybody's convenience. It says, I found you very inspiring and motivating and a very strong woman. I want to ask you that you said we should work hard to get somewhere in life. But my question is, what if we keep on working hard, but in the end, the hard work and good effort is not looked at, but a minor fault is being found? What do we do in that case? When everything is going well, but maybe due to stress or maybe due to pressure, you just overlook something, then how to handle it?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I'm a very tough person, so you have to excuse me when I'm blatantly honest. But for you, what might have been minor is actually not minor for the organization that you're a part of, I assure you. So yes, we all make mistakes. But the fact that you are willing to admit and correct the mistake, your leadership needs to take that into consideration. So please don't lose heart, because we do make mistakes, but some mistakes are unforgivable when it comes to an organization, right? So for example, let's take a hospital. You're an ambulance driver, right? And you're supposed to be there to rescue somebody and you fall asleep, right? So you cost somebody a life. So it depends upon the the quantum of what the mistake is. And hard work, when you talk about hard work, please understand hard work is not always equal to working like a donkey. Hard work is also equal to using your mind and using different ways of communicating to the leadership, any of your ideas, etc. Please, it takes resilience. Every morning you have to get up and convince yourself that what you're doing is what you believe in. And being a woman, I can tell you that I have suffered this my entire life. I suffer it even today, but I'm not willing to give up. So, you might think that, okay, you sit in these positions, etc. So you have the post. That's not the end all. The post is not what you were after anyway. What you were after is actually, to bring convenience, to create some, I want to say, order in the chaos of aviation, right? I mean, that's why I'm in the airport business. So the motivation has to be different, and therefore then you will start relating to things differently. I know you guys are very, very young. So your questions are very valid for the phase of life you're in right now. But as you grow older and mature, you will start figuring this out. So don't take that to heart. There'll be many such falls. You just get up and keep going. And you have to work hard. By hard work, it's also honesty. Work honestly.
Thank you. I'm just going to go through the questions right now.
Somebody has asked, what does it mean being a woman?
Yeah.
That's a very sweet, innocent question. It's a question which is very relevant for this generation. And I'm glad you're asking it, because you think it's a funny question. But believe me, where the time where we have started from, there was an absolute bias towards making sure that men always got the creamy jobs. If they didn't get the creamy job, they definitely got the creamy salary. So women, by virtue of God's grace, we get married, we have children, we raise families, we look after our parents and our in-laws. That actually becomes a crutch. That becomes the reason that you don't succeed. And that, believe it or not, many times has been thrown in working women's faces. That, oh, you got married, so you're going to get pregnant, therefore you can't get a promotion. It has happened. So that's what I'm referring to. But I'm very happy that you find that question a little awkward in today's time. That means times are changing.
Yeah. Somebody wants to know any lows that you faced. You've reached such high post being in the service industry. What are the lows you faced? How you've overcome them?
Okay, so I'll be, again, I told you I'm going to be blatantly honest. So probably the low that I faced, and I still am trying to come to terms with it, is that I sacrificed a lot of my personal time. And I think along the way, perhaps I lost out some time with my children. Of course, I gave them the best that life could possibly give them, based on my own means. But the honest truth is that that's the part that I sometimes miss, that perhaps I didn't hug them enough. Perhaps I didn't talk to them enough. Perhaps I didn't touch them enough, because now they're all grown up and they're gone. And once they leave the house to go to university, they don't really come back, just like you won't really go back once you start, moving on with your careers. So how do I come over it? I obviously, like every working mother, overcompromised in making sure that they lacked nothing in terms of gadgets and opportunities. I just kept sure that I was able to, earn enough so that they had everything going for them. But and now, thanks to technology, I'm in touch with them all the time. But yes, that is one regret. And it's a regret that I have to deal with. It's not something that can ever come back, because you know that once time goes, it doesn't come back. So that's on a personal level. On a professional level, I will tell you that I did get adventurous. And even though my core strength was actually in airport planning, I decided to do different things, which, by the way, I did over the last 2 years. I don't have any regrets because I learned a lot, but I also learned that you should stick to what you know best. So yeah, I do take a lot of risks in life, but I think now I need to stop this adventurous spirit and be a little bit more cautious.
Thank you. Indra, would you like to continue?
Yes, okay. I
Thank you.
think we'll end this question answer session here. If anyone's question is missed, maybe you can write to us, then we will get back to you on that. And also, I would like to announce that we'll be very soon launching our grooming and soft skills training. You all can follow us on our social handle, that is your Facebook and Instagram, and for further details. Now, I would like to pass on to Ms. Vinita, who is a Senior Manager Training, to wrap up the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all the panelists for the enlightenment you have given to the participants. I've been exploring the complete, when we talk about grooming, because as I myself, I had struggled a lot during my career to come to this level, because, till an age, I believe that, white skin was supposed to be the well-groomed stage. People used to take, you being fair is the best thing. But then there came a stage in my life where I discovered it's all about exploring yourself, discovering yourself, and creating your own identity. So that is what which we all have to work towards. And our trainer Indra will be guidelining on this with few sessions. And you can follow up on our social media. And thank you all. And of course, the questions really made me also go back to my past and come here as an answer that, how the confidence in yourself can change your entire outlook. Thank you, everyone. And utilize this time which is available to you during this COVID when you are with yourself at home for enhancing yourself, encouraging yourself, and discovering yourself. And stop thinking negative. Be positive and be positive about your life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vinita. Thank you, Radha ma'am, for this initiative. Thank you, Nupur. Thank you, Pooja, once again for being our panelist and taking us time. And for everyone, see you and thank you for joining us today. Stay safe and stay home. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Indira.
Thank you. Thank you.